What I wanted to talk about today, though, is success in life. Now, this can be personal or business. And just knowing the people in the group, I am going under the assumption that we all desire success, correct? Um, so here is the thing. The difference between success and failure is just so slight. It really just comes down to typically small incremental decisions that we make. Most of the time, these decisions or these smaller decisions add up to very large outcomes over time. So the with these decisions, they can obviously be positive or negative, depending on your choice. And even the small consequences, sometimes we don't realize how much that builds up over time, or even more, the opportunity cost of our decisions. That could even be probably a bigger item to consider is the opportunity cost. Uh, so I've been in the real estate industry for 16 years, and I've noticed a few things about myself and others in the industry. So even today, when I'm talking about this, I am talking about myself as well. This is not pointing fingers at anybody in the group or, making outside commentary about others. This is about me too. This is a group or a team thing. And what I've noticed is, and again, I'm talking about myself in this as well, we tend to look at the end game, our very large things in business and in life, and it just appears overwhelming and can be often discouraging when we look at the huge picture. But the reality is we can take small steps every day that are easy, and they're much more likely to work over the long term. Um, Sorry about that. I've got a little bit of a cold too, Kevin. Sorry, but we're also more likely to do small steps. In an example, if I told you to climb a 14,000-foot mountain, that sounds overwhelming. But if we took very small steps every day, there would be one point where you hit the top of the mountain and you can say, wow, I accomplished that, especially with small steps over time. So a few years ago, I read a book named The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Personally, it's a very quick, easy read. The content, he's a little bit wordy, so I think anybody could breeze through it and get the concepts. The biggest principle is just that simple decisions turn into massive long-term success. In fact, that is the subtitle, is turning simple disciplines into massive success. So the book talks about there is no such thing as a neutral decision. So every decision we have either moves us in a positive or a negative direction. And every decision we have there is a consequence to every decision that we have. So the other thing that I really like to do, and this is something at the end I'm even going to give you an action step for this, but I like to get very small on focus. And what that means is doing a very small focus leading to big results. And the book talks a lot about that. So sometimes we focus too much on the big result and we can get frustrated when it doesn't happen. And I don't know if I'm speaking just for myself, but usually it's when it doesn't happen on my time frame. So I want these massive results and I want it to happen on my time frame. And then if it doesn't, sometimes we get discouraged. But I wanted to have everybody think about this. If you took an extra 5, 10, 20, even 30 minutes a day at something, just small things, over time, that's going to lead to massive action. So as an example, it sounds tough sometimes or overwhelming to read, let's say, a book in a day. But if we were asked to just read one chapter a day, and let's say that book was a 14-chapter book, then in 2 weeks, that would add up to reading that one book. And if you did that consistently over a year, that's 26 books a year. That's much easier to do in the small increments and build that over time. Plus, look at really look at those results. The average person only reads 3 to 4 books a year, and I think that's even slanted, because I would imagine there's a lot of people that read a lot of books and there's a lot of people that read no books. So in that example of just reading a chapter a day and assuming a 14-chapter book, that would be roughly 6 to 7 times more books that you will have read over an entire year compared to the average person. I mean, that adds up to substantial knowledge and benefit to you as a person. Now, one other thing I always like to do is use something to apply or some application on what we're focusing on. So the real question is what we're talking about today, or what we talk about any day, how does that apply to our everyday lives? And I'm going to talk a little bit more on the business side, but realize this can be on the personal side as well. It does not have to be business. So since most of us, I think, in this group are in some form of the real estate industry, and I would probably even venture to say most of us are either an agent or an investor, or we have at some point been an agent and an investor. And really, those two people are more similar than we think. And I love the fact that we've even merged those groups to come together, because I think we have more to benefit as a group than we do saying that we're just agents or just investors. One thing, though, that we all need to do is prospect in that industry. Now, we can do that in a ton of different ways, but at the end of the day, whether you're an agent or an investor, prospecting is vitally important. So if I told you that I wanted you to write 5 offers a week on real estate deals, and again, it doesn't matter if it's 5 offers for your investment business, for a company that you work for on the investment business, or an agent, at the end of the day, that really writing offers is something that we should all be doing. So if I said 5 offers in a week, that sounds a little overwhelming. But if we broke that down into a more manageable step, so let's say we said just write 1 offer a day, that's much easier to obtain. Plus, I don't know if it's just me. Now I've got 4 daughters and a wife, and I have some hobbies. So I have, this quote, other things that get in the way, or emergencies that come up quite a bit, typically on a daily, sometimes hourly, and occasionally on the minute basis. So things do come up in our life, right? And when we say something like, I only need you to write 1 offer today, or that's your goal, even if these things or these emergencies come up, typically we can make 1 offer. We can slot enough time to do that 1 offer and accomplish that goal for the day. And if something does come up that's an emergency, if we were trying to write 5 offers in a day, often what will happen is either we don't hit the 5 offers, or we don't focus enough to get it done at a high level. So saying we can offer or make 1 offer a day is just much more attainable, even when life happens or when emergencies happen. And another thing that I do know for sure, I think the only way any of us, whether it's with an agent capacity or an investor capacity, the only way I know to buy a house is to make an offer. So really for us, that really needs to be a daily focus. The other thing that I think the book talks about, and here is one of my favorite pieces, because we always talk about being focused or trying to focus on our personal life or business. And the book talks about that true focus needs to be incremental as well. It needs to be for short periods, and the long drawn out periods are just tough to do. And I'm pretty confident that most of us can really focus. And I'll give you a personal example, and hopefully you can relate to this. The day before or the week before you're going on a massive vacation, what happens? I mean, we knock stuff out. We're on fire. We're totally focused. We get 3, 4, 5 times more done in a day or in a week right before vacation. But then what else happens after that? At the end of that, we're exhausted and we need a vacation, right? So the book talks about that, and I can relate to that, because we can't have total focus all the time. It needs to be seriously dedicated focus in small increments. In those increments, I mean, it depends on the person. Some people can focus for 5 minutes, some can do 50 minutes. And there's not really a right or wrong answer there. The goal or the learning lesson in that is we can't go 100% all the time. It just exhausts us and is not possible, but we can give 100% in bursts. All right, so let's look at an example. I know we all learn a little bit differently, so some of us may have more of a philosophical view on life, and others may like numbers or pictures. So I want to give a couple number examples for and that actually I'm raising my hand because that's how I learn. Um, I relate to that at a high level as well. If you had, in that prior example, if we used a 5 offers in a week, if you offered 5 offers a week, that's just one a day, Monday through Friday, and you did that for 50 weeks. If you multiply that out, that's 250 offers in a year. Now, if you only got 2% as your close ratio, and I use 2% because I think that shows that that's very attainable. So for many of us, it might be higher, and that's great, and I think we can even improve on that. And for some of us, you might be saying, my close ratio is 0 at this point, or 1%. The great news is you're plugged into 3 doors and a resources where there are people here that can help you build that. So the good news is I'm using what I feel is somewhat of a conservative number, and if you're not there yet, people can embrace you and build you up and train you and help you with that. If you're above that, then your numbers are just going to look better. But if you do the 2% close ratio on 250 deals a year, that are 250 offers, I'm sorry, that adds up to 5 deals over the course of the year. Now, if those were worth $20,000 roughly on average per deal, meaning some might be worth a little bit more, some might be a little less, but on average $20,000, and that is, you just made $100,000 by making a disciplined effort to make 1 offer a day. And that's just on the weekdays. And honestly, we still gave you 2 weeks off at Christmas and New Year's to celebrate for that success. So the other massive thing is if you did that over a span of 20 years, just those consistent disciplines, and you don't even get any better at your close ratio, you don't make more than 1 offer a day, and you just consistently do that, that's $1 million over that 20-year span. And that is much more attainable to say, I'm going to do 1 offer a day than to say I'm going to make $1 million. It just is easier to control. And that compounding effect over time is absolutely enormous. All right, so finally, the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about success and relating it even to this example is success is absolutely built with momentum, and we build off success. Or if we start to not have success, it's basically a snowball effect. It's similar to picking up some snow, crunching it in your hand. That's a very small piece of snow. If you start rolling it down the hill, that's going to build, it collects more snow, it builds up, and then at the end of the hill, you can make a massive snowman. And really, that is what success is as well. So all of this comes down to small decisions every day, build more momentum and more success. So even in that prior example of writing 1 offer a day, I promise you, you consistently do that, you're going to get better at 2 things. You're going to get better at making offers. You're going to get better at your close ratio. That's going to build success over time. It's just similar to like flexing a muscle and building that muscle. If you did a New Year's resolution and said, I'm going to start working out this year, and you said, you know what, I'm going to do it one day and I'm going to work out 8 hours, that's never as effective as saying I'm going to work out 30, 45 minutes a day, even an hour, and build that bigger, faster, and stronger over time. And that's also much more manageable. And that is how our muscles build as well. So now I do have one last thing. I do have a major favor to ask everybody on the call. So after this call, I really want everybody to do this. And in fact, I'll see a lot of you at the meeting this morning. So I want to make sure that come and tell me at the meeting if you did this. But here is your action step. I want to make sure that I give you something that you can start implementing the second the call ends. You can do one thing. I'm only asking for one thing that you do in small increments that you are going to start doing and commit to that's going to build the huge results. And here's where the favor comes in, though. I want to hear how that works for you. And I absolutely love hearing about people's success. So call me, text me, email at the meetings, or if you see me, tell me about your success, because that means a ton to me, and I would absolutely love to hear that. So Kevin, thanks a ton for letting me speak again today. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. And again, I do want everybody to do the action plan and then tell me at the meeting what you decided to do, or just let me know that you even did it. I don't need to know every personal detail or business detail, but I would like to know that you took the one action step. And I think probably at this point, Kevin, if we want to open it up, if people have comments, questions, want to give feedback, I'd love to hear it as well.
Rock on, Jeremy Vlasich. That was awesome. So many parts. I was like, yeah, rock on, yeah. So I was playing along. So way to go. Who wants to contribute?
I'll jump in, Kevin. This is Sarah. So I don't really, talk publicly about this a whole lot, but personally, one of my goals this year is to drop some weight and get healthy. And I just wanted to let you know, Jeremy, that this talk was very motivating for me, because sometimes it can be discouraging when I'm making those small choices and not seeing the end result. So, I know it's going to take a lot of time, and that was very encouraging for me this morning. So thank you.
Yeah, great. I'm glad that helped out. I'm very happy about that.
I remember, Jeremy, I wanted to, I'll just give a real example. So I wanted to read the Bible, and this was way back when, right? And if anybody's ever done it or thought about it, like, it's a massive, massive book, right? And probably just like, insert business here, right? But I wanted to do it, so I just started reading it, and then I burned out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much. And then I just broke it down where I read a chapter a day. And there's parts of it that it's just like freaking choking it down. There's other parts that are, really cool. But it actually, it took about 3 years, but then I could say, dude, I finished this massive thing, so it's one of those little action every day really does push you towards end results. And, now I'm reading a lot more, not as much as Tom or anything like that. Tom devours a couple books a day or something. Tom Bassler is just a machine in that world. But yeah, total, I get it. I believe it.
And Kevin, the other thing is, how did that make you feel? It probably felt good, right? When you accomplished that?
Oh, totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally.
Hey, Jeremy, this is Kelly Pingleton. I really appreciate your speech today, or your talk today. One of the things Don Krause says a lot to us is small hinges swing big doors. And I think he really broke down and there's a book called Execution. I really love the focus to me was it's about execution. And, when we talk about this big thing, you have to break it down. And that's so true. It's the steps that we take every day to breaking it down. If we just focus on the end game, which we have to, we want to think about and visualize and do those affirmations about that. And as Sarah talked about, the weight loss or whatever it is, it's the things we do each day. It's those breaking it down that will help us get to the end goal. So thanks for that great reminder. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Anybody else want to chime in today? My kids are shaking their head no.
Yeah, the only thing hey Jim here, guys. The only thing I have to chime in is just how accurate and spot on it really is. Like, especially when you're starting out, like, you think, oh man, I want to be this successful investor, have all these big dreams, and then you're working hard. You're a month, you're 2 months, you're 3 months in. Man, I haven't got that first deal yet. Then you start to get that self-doubt creep in. And what an amazing way to combat that self-doubt. It's not, hey, I need to rehab 10 rehabs at a time. It's, well, no, I just need to make an offer a day. I'm going to figure out a way to make an offer a day. Like just chunk it down, and then those little, then that's when momentum happens. And then by the end of the year, you look back and say, wow, I did do 10 rehabs. But it's from having that specific small little focus and one, you're climbing that mountain one step at a time. So I love it, Jeremy. Awesome call.
This is Dawn B, and I want to jump in and say the same thing. I think it was a great call. I think it's, perfect timing, as that always is. But I think something that both Jeremy and Kevin highlighted for us today is making sure that when you're doing things to get towards your goal, it puts you in a position where other people are noticing, and it gives you the opportunity to bless some other people. The gentleman that called Kevin yesterday, he was calling Kevin because he knew Kevin would make some things happen. And similarly so, Jeremy finds himself, I'm sure, in situations like that where people reach out and go, hey, I need this today. And they can deliver that because of the consistent steps that they're taking every day. So sometimes success doesn't look like we think it's going to look. Sometimes it shows up in a different way. And not only will 3 Doors and some of you and Kevin be blessed by that gentleman that wants to come in and buy properties immediately, think about what you're providing for all those families that would be out of work. And again, it's because they've taken consistent steps. So sometimes we're taking these steps and we're looking maybe at our checkbooks, or we're looking at, our livelihood, or man, I just, like Jeremy said today, you're going to write that many offers and maybe only close 5 houses. You have to do that day in and day out because that it's making a difference, and it's not just the difference we're making for ourselves. So I think it was a super powerful call today, and I really appreciate all you guys pour into everybody, including myself.
Yeah, thanks, Don.
Yeah, rock on. Hey guys, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I know you guys got a 8 o'clock call as well, so appreciate everybody on the call. Jeremy, super proud of this one. Great job. And then don't forget, come see Christina today at 10:30. I'd love to have you. If you guys have any questions, please reach out. If you have any deals that you want to talk to us about, it's deals@3doors.com. So guys, great call again, and I will see you this morning. See you soon.
Thanks,
Jeremy.
See you later.
Thanks, Kevin.
See you guys.